Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
BullseyeEventGroup.com. The Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Your Colts game day experience the best it can be. Log on and get your passes now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
The Phone Ready quiz from the American Academy of Pediatrics will help you decide if you and your child are ready for their first phone. Go to healthychildren.org/phone ready quiz.
I think we can all agree. Over the last few years, things have gotten weird.
Weird, confusing, and at times, pretty scary.
And for our kids, these things can be overwhelmingly stressful.
And can increase the risk for mental health problems as they grow.
But there's so much hope.
Scientific research and real-life experience
tell us that the number one antidote to stress is authentic, trusted relationships.
So that's why I.
That's why I.
That's why we.
That's why I am committed to building and maintaining a trusted space.
For the students I influence every single day.
Until schools across the country
can proudly call ourselves a trusted space.
This is 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 a trusted space.
Access free films and resources to build trusted spaces in your schools and communities at atrustedspace.org.
From the DriveHubler.com studios, this is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2, HD3, Indianapolis.
It's Query and Company.
I'm going to be keeping you company for the next few hours.
You are not going to believe the company.
This company.
You're going to bankrupt your mama's company?
At least I have the radio to keep me company. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The winner of the 2025 Heisman Trophy is Fernando Mendoza.
I want every kid out there who feels overlooked, underestimated, to know I was you. I was that kid too. I was in your shoes. The truth is, you don't need the most stars, hype, or rankings. You just need discipline, heart, and people who believe in you. And you need to believe in your own abilities. I hope this moment shows you that chasing your dreams are worth it, no matter how big or impossible they seem. God bless. Go Hoosiers.
2-by-2 formation for Rivers. Looking over that defense, 4 on the play clock. Takes a step, 3-step drop, looking, throws inside the 5, touchdown for the Colts, and it's Josh Downs.
Pretty special to see that. No, I'm not going to lie, it was awesome to see him, how excited he was. It brought back the flashbacks of 5-6 years ago, the way he operated out there and the communication on the sidelines with the O-line, walking up and down. He just hopped right back into it.
The crowd is making tons of noise. Let's see if young Mr. Groupie in his third year can knock down a huge field goal. Snap, placement, kick on the way. Headed downfield for the uprights. It's wow! This is going to be a 56-yard field goal. Myers snap, gets into it, sends it downfield. Headed for the uprights, and it's gone. Final score, it's Seattle 18 and the Indianapolis Colts 16.
Obviously, it's disappointing anytime you lose, but we're guaranteed 3 left and had a chance to win 1 today, but now we got another opportunity to go do it again on Monday night against San Francisco, and we're excited for that challenge.
influential in your future, you're out of your mind. But congratulations to Mendoza. Congratulations to Indiana football fans for seeing the Heisman Trophy in Bloomington. And then you transfer from Saturday into Sunday. And what happened in Seattle? I thought personally what we saw in virtually every aspect of that game, you can look at optimism and pessimism, depending on which type of personality you have. You can be optimistic going into the game of like Phillip Rivers. Let's see what happens. He's 44 years old. This is a gunslinger. This is a guy that knows how to play. This is a guy that has experience. This is a guy that has played well in Seattle in his career. Let's see what happens. And for the better part of the beginning of that game, it looked that way. He looked not as in shape as he once was, but he's 44 years old. But in the outset, you heard Matt Taylor there with the call. You heard Fernando Mendoza, by the way, also in that open. But you heard Matt Taylor on the call there of the touchdown pass. And Rivers, I thought, looked efficient and somewhat precise at the beginning of the game. Maybe he overstepped or overextended himself a little bit by rushing up to the line and and who knows how much he was actually calling an audible to a different play and how much of that wasn't just theater. But in the beginning of the game, he certainly looked like a guy that you thought, this may actually work. That's the optimism. You're watching Phillip Rivers and you're saying to yourself, this might actually work. Chris Ballard may have made a phone call at the recommendation or the brainstorm of Shane Steichen, and this may actually work. That's the optimistic side. The pessimistic side would be, work for what? What are they working for? To make the playoffs? Did anybody, optimistically, you look at it and go, you want to make the playoffs because that's what the fan base deserves, that's what the players deserve. It gives you a chance to then play for a Super Bowl or try to win games in the postseason, optimistically. And you're saying, okay, if they can win this, they're staying on track there with Houston, with Jacksonville, with those two still on the schedule, and they got a shot, optimistically. Pessimistically, you look at it and you say, for what? To get into the postseason and then get beat in the first round on the road, somewhere? That's pessimistically. Then optimistically, you think, well, at least if that happens, they can get a good draft pick. And then pessimistically, you think of the reality, which is they don't have a first-round pick. The big question that I have coming off of this game is the obvious. And that is, in fact, because they're coming closely to a crossroad here of where do you go from here? Where do you go from here? But let's go back to why the Colts lost that game yesterday. The reality is that they lost that game yesterday and it took Seattle time to figure this out. It took Seattle time to figure this out. And that was, look, the Colts have an elite offensive weapon in Jonathan Taylor. And we would love to just bring the heat and blitz the heck out of Phillip Rivers. But if we do that, then Jonathan Taylor, if we blitz in and then suddenly Taylor gets the ball and he is off going in the opposite direction. If we miss on that blitz, then boom, you're giving up big chunk yardage, big play to Jonathan Taylor. And it took Seattle a while to figure out that they basically didn't have to drop back in coverage beyond, say, 7 to 10 yards because Rivers, if he was going to get the ball to that, and he's never been a long ball thrower per se anyway, but they knew Phillip Rivers and his operating area is basically shy of 10 yards. So let's just load that box right there and take away that area of the field, because if he's going to throw beyond that, and he did make one beautiful throw to Alec Pierce, but again, Alec Pierce's only target in that game. You're taking one of your better weapons and negating it because you can't zip line get the ball to that length. And so that made them then, the Colts, to use a basketball term, pretty easily guardable. They could get right up in there and they could say, okay, Jonathan Taylor, you're going to go right into the meat of us. And Phillip Rivers, you're going to have to throw right into the meat of us, and we don't have to get overly aggressive in blitz. We can sit right in this area between the line of scrimmage and, say, 7 yards, and then try to beat us. And at that point, it stalled out what the Colts were trying to do. It just did. And it forced the Colts, because of Rivers' limitations, even though he was, and you have to give the guy, I want to be very clear here. What we saw yesterday, and it's very easy for any of us, radio talk show hosts, print writers, fans, anybody, it's very easy to look at that and nitpick it and say, this guy was using and throwing with a wet noodle arm, didn't have any range or zip on his football, and what are they doing? It's easy to do that. That would be actually the easy narrative, probably, the obvious, right? But in reality, if you take aside all of the implications of it, if you take aside the biology of all of it and just look at it for what it is, what we saw yesterday was really impressive. It was. It was an incredibly impressive feat of athletic accomplishment. And yes, I would expect and anticipate for 90% of people hearing my voice to say, what in the heck is this guy talking about? A dude went out there and basically looked like a statue that had 9 flak jackets and 6 layers of 3-layer dip on him and went 18 of 27 for 120 yards. He threw a pick to end the game, and he threw a touchdown. He had a rating of 73. And this guy's telling me that was one of the most impressive athletic accomplishments? Yes, it was. For a guy at 44 years old, to go out nearly 5 years removed from his last game in the National Football League, 2 weeks ago, not anticipating that he was going to be in an NFL game, to come in with essentially one accelerated walkthrough practice, and yes, maybe he knows the offense. Doesn't mean he knows the vernacular of the offense. Doesn't mean that he knows even the personnel to a large extent of the offense. You know, I remember once talking with, and we had him on the show last week, I remember once talking to Jeff George when he was talking about having Randy Moss as, I think it was a rookie. And he said Randy Moss is a rookie because he was new, didn't know all of the vernacular of the Vikings offense. And so he would look at him in the huddle, and he could tell that Randy Moss didn't understand the play that was being called because he was new. He was a rookie. I mean, it was understandable. And he said Chris Carter would literally look at him and just give him like a hand signal, like, do this, go this way, go that way. Because Chris Carter and Randy Moss had been working out together. They knew that they had that symbiotic, just you look at somebody and you know, finish each other's sentences type thing. Phillip Rivers hasn't even had time to do that because, you know, how much has he been around Tyler Warren? How much has he been around, you know, the Alec Pierce? You know, younger guys like that. And so, as a result, you're going in and you're just going into a situation where you're completely unfamiliar with what it is that everybody around you wants to do. So to come in that situation and play in the National Football League and have a control to an extent of what it is that's asked of you is incredibly impressive. But it's very limiting. And yesterday, offensively speaking, the Colts were very limited. And what did them in was that necessity to be overly vanilla, the ability for Seattle in the second half to figure out the limitation that the Colts had offensively and then being able to essentially take that away, which then caused the Colts defense to wear themselves out because they could not get every single time they came off the field, they're right back on it, right? I mean, it's 3 and out, 3 and out. I thought Kevin Bowen said it really well. it was very apparent by the second half that the Colts' offensive reliability was, Taylor for 2 plays and then a manageable throw for Rivers and take your shot at it. And it just became too predictable, too vanilla. And at the end of the game, what did the Colts in was the fact that even though their defense clearly played well and clearly kept Seattle, and, Sam Darnold is a guy that has weapons on the field, and yes, he utilized those weapons, but nonetheless, he did not get it into the end zone. They were a bend, not break defense yesterday. Until the end of the game, the most perhaps indicting thing of all was the fact that Chris Ballard's biggest area of emphasis as the general manager of the Colts, he could not get to the quarterback when it mattered most. They could not get to Sam Darnold when it most mattered. And they put them in position to get that field goal. Now, Grupe's field goal of 60 yards was unbelievable. But then the other thing, again, optimism, pessimism. Optimistically speaking, guy hits a 60-yard field goal, the longest in franchise. Unbelievable. Longest in history. Incredible kick. Pessimism. His kickoff after that allowed for Seattle to put themselves in quick position to get within field goal range to then beat them because they couldn't get to the quarterback and make a play there. But the thing now moving forward, and the million-dollar question is this. And I don't know the answer to this per se right now because the postseason is still in play. The postseason is still in play. Now, Kurt Gerald, you're in for Eddie Garrison today. Eddie picked up a side gig, and this is cool. When Eddie Garrison went up to, as you know, the Big Hat Association for his hat tryout. One of the things that they noticed when he was there, they were talking to him, to Eddie, and asking where he was from. Turns out that the group that put together a lot of the lighting and things like that for his photo op, because of the Big Head Association, for those that are unfamiliar, Eddie Garrison was out. What was that? When was that, Kurt? Like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, a couple Mondays ago.
So he went up to northern Indiana because there was a company that was looking for a head model of an 8 5/8 hat. They're coming out with a new line of bigger hats. And Eddie went up for that and had to do some photo shoot stuff. Turns out, I didn't know this, he got to know some people that were in line there, and they actually said, hey, listen, do you have vacation time left? Yes, I do. Well, we are paying top dollar for helping and setting up the lights for the winter lights out at the fairgrounds. So Eddie called and said, hey, is there any way, these folks were impressed with, just in talking to them. He had noticed when they were doing the photo shoot that some of their lighting was off. And Eddie, working in the studio and knowing lights and things like that, and having gone through at UIndy, their television program, he was familiar with lights, was telling them about that. And they said, well, you know what? We actually have some contractual stuff we do with the winter lights out at the fairgrounds, setting stuff up for the evening time. And this is the time when that really ramps up. So Eddie is actually taking a couple of days helping them out with that. And I guess they're paying top dollar. And I don't blame him at all, right?
No, I don't blame him one bit. He's out till Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot of lights.
It is a lot of lights.
I mean, they've got it going already, but I mean, he is. So you're in here, for the half of the week, right?
I'm here today, tomorrow, and then I think Nathaniel Finch, you get him Wednesday.
Oh, don't call me Atticus, right?
There you go.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. Realistically, Kurt, let me ask you this. If you were to look at the Colts going into if they were to make the playoffs, if they were to win yesterday, and they were still in the thick of things, what in your mind is the ceiling of what you would see them doing in the postseason?
I could see them losing in the divisional round.
But you don't see them going big, because the reason I ask it, the reality is this. As I watched that game yesterday, I was encouraged, and I was thinking to myself, maybe they did pull a rabbit out of the hat. Maybe they did come up with a masterful plan. Maybe they did find an answer here amongst this huge riddle of what to do with Daniel Jones out and Anthony Richardson unavailable and Riley Leonard dinged up. Maybe the Colts, in fact, reached into the well here, and it was a stroke of genius. And the whole time that I'm thinking about that, I thought to myself, why? What? For what purpose? For what purpose? To get into the postseason? And then when I was thinking about for what purpose to get into the postseason, I thought you may as well do it now because it's not like you then turn around and, you know what, let's just scrap this year and add some pieces and come back next year because you're right back to square one. I'm not trying to be, again, optimism, pessimism. I'm not trying to be overly pessimistic here, but the reality, you don't know who's going to be your – and I know there's reports that Daniel Jones will be ready in week 1 next year. That's if you even sign him. He may decide to go to Minnesota. We don't know. But let's say Daniel Jones is your starter next year, week 1. Then you are going with a quarterback who is coming off an Achilles injury and you don't know the level of basically athleticism and, timing and everything else and how long that's going to take. But that's option 1. Option 2, you go with Anthony Richardson. Okay, that's cool, but you're going with a guy that you already, at least symbolically speaking, turned the page on. Now you're going back to him. Everybody knows why, the reason you're going back to him. And if he plays really well for you, that's cool, but he's in a contract year, and now all of a sudden, assuming that you are playing him, it's while you are temporarily waiting for Daniel Jones to come back, meaning that you signed Daniel Jones. Now you've got how much money tied up if he balls out. What are you going to do? Because now you've got to pay him also. And do you realistically believe that Richardson's your future? Then you have option 3, which is, okay, you go with Riley Leonard because you cannot draft a quarterback in the first round. Sure, you can get a second, third rounder, whatever, right? Hell, the kid from Vanderbilt will be available. I can tell you that right now, right? So you're at a crossroads there. But because of that, the one aspect of it is, do you know yet what you have in Riley Leonard? And the reason I ask it is because the Colts now are in a situation where, mathematically speaking, they are still alive for the postseason. Mathematically speaking. But realistically speaking, if they might be eligible mathematically for the postseason, but does anybody really believe that they are a contender or can compete in the playoffs for a Super Bowl run? And if that's the case, then you say, okay, then maybe it's about building blocks for next year because you have attrition that's taken place. You now have on the left and right side your tackles where you're going into having to go into your depth chart. And if that's the case, then maybe, in fact, you use the end of the year here to see what you have in Riley Leonard because while Phillip Rivers and what he did yesterday is commendable and impressive, the reality is this. It was vanilla to the point where Seattle just completely exposed how it is that you guard it. And there's not much more that you can bring out of your playbook with Phillip Rivers than what we saw yesterday. And in addition to that, if you're going to run that vanilla an offense, and yes, I'll give them credit that, they started to utilize Amir Abdullah a little bit and using him like in the Phillip Rivers, okay, he's got a Darren Sproles type guy that he can dump off to and whatever else. But aside from that, if the offense that you saw yesterday is what the Colts have to do with Phillip Rivers for the remainder, then what good does it do you? What good does it do you? Because Phillip Rivers ain't going to be here long term. So you may as well run that sort of a vanilla offense with a guy that you are at least seeing what is there so that you have a general idea of it moving forward. If Riley Leonard goes out and plays that vanilla of an offense, but at times has some escapability, at times uses some athleticism, if he does those things, okay, then at least you have a general idea, never as your necessarily starter, but you have a general idea what you have that you're working with moving forward as your backup or your, what a roster piece for you. If Phillip Rivers comes out and that vanilla offense allows them to win a game or two, what does that do for your future? What does it do for your future? It gets a cool postseason photo of the Colts hanging in a high school gymnasium in Alabama somewhere as a motivational piece. Fernando Mendoza told kids, look at me and know that I am reflective of the fact that anything is possible. And Phillip Rivers, for the team that he's coaching in Alabama, can look at them and post up a picture and say, look at me, and that tells you that even when you think it's over, there's always another chance to dig down deep. That's cool. But that doesn't help the Colts necessarily beyond right now. And that's the crossroads of where they are. The crossroads of where they are right now is mathematically they are still in it. But realistically and symbolically, are they? And there are some things I think that can happen in the offseason that we've seen before. I talk about precedent a lot. I had a conversation last night with somebody, and I said, this is exactly right. This is exactly right. And it's an interesting crossroads the Colts may be in right now. And yesterday may have brought it all to fruition. We'll get into that next. I will read also. Yesterday I asked the question, as I do after each and every game. I put it in the form of, now that through 14 games, give me your thoughts on the Colts season through 14 games and 14 words or fewer. And it didn't take that many words for most people to voice their opinion. We'll get into that today. Don Fisher going to join us, voice of the Hoosiers, 1 o'clock. Indiana, Kentucky on Saturday, but the Heisman, the bigger story, on Saturday night. Also on the program today, Mike Chappell going to join us, Bob Kravitz as well. Loaded one, lot to unpack. We'll get into what we have seen from a different administration with the Colts that we could be seeing repeating itself, and we'll get into it next.
Do you suffer from sore feet, back, knee, or hip pain? The Good Feet Arch Support System has helped many people find relief, like Tim.
I'm always telling my colleagues who have sore feet, this is the greatest thing. I'll even take my shoe off and show them. And I believe in the product so much. When you have something that works, you kind of want to share it with people. It worked for me, maybe it can work for you.
Or do you wake up at night with heel pain, like Crystal?
I would wake up in the middle of the night with all kinds of pain in my heels and in my arch. So I went to the Good Feet store. And ever since then, I've been pain-free. I wear them every day. I wear them when I walk, at the gym, when I work. They're great.
Get back to walking, working, and exercising, and imagine a life without pain. No shots, no surgery, no medication. You've got nothing to lose but your pain. Stop into the Good Feet store today for a free fitting and test walk. We're located in Castleton by the Fashion Mall or in Greenwood, just off the 65.
Thanks to the Good Feet store. Thanks to the Good Feet store.
JMV here, and guys, you've heard of TRT, but you have no idea what testosterone can do for you. Once you start treatment, you'll wish you had done it sooner. Now you can take the TRT test for free at Center Gen X and Low T Center. Walk in before 10 a.m. or book ahead at fixmylowt.com. The place for guys to go is Center Gen X and Low T Center for TRT. The TRT test is free, not hundreds of dollars. The testosterone is pure, not compounded. Guys feel full of energy, not like they're still waiting for it to kick in. Get in now for your free TRT test. No appointment necessary before 10 a.m. or book ahead at fixmylowt.com. Guys, you're going to wish you had started TRT sooner. Don't you just want to know your level? Find out with the free TRT test at Center Gen X and Low T Center. Walk in before 10 a.m. or book ahead at fixmylowt.com. That's fixmylowt.com. Center Gen X and Low T Center. Get that free T test today. fixmylowt.com.
When the new year hits, every business could use a little something to stay ahead. A lift, a jump start, an edge, or perhaps a boost. Like the all-new 5-year business boost from Comcast Business. It's the certainty of a price lock for 5 years on qualifying internet bundles. Plus, you'll have the most reliable Wi-Fi with our best equipment, so your whole team can stay connected at a great rate. And to sweeten the deal, ask about a $500 prepaid card when you add 2 lines of mobile. It's the boost your business deserves. So sign up for the 5-year business boost and get a 5-year price lock on ultra-reliable Wi-Fi. Plus, ask about a $500 prepaid card. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 2/22/26, new customers only. 1-year contract required for guaranteed rate. 5-year pricing applies to monthly service charge excluding taxes and fees. Best Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, May 2025.
Satch Vai Band, featuring Joe Satriani and Steve Vai. Two living legends, one band. Surfing with the Hydra 2026 Tour. Saturday, May 9th, Everwise Amphitheater at White River State Park with special guest, Animals as leaders. Reserved seats are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Satch Vai Band an electrifying sonic powerhouse, part of the Jack Daniels Concert Series.
This is Kevin and Kim at Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. This holiday season, your home comfort is our business. We are here to keep your family warm and comfortable, just like we have for 40 years.
We appreciate your business throughout the year, and we are always here if you need us. From our entire Reinhardt Heating and Cooling family, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Keeping you warm in Danville, Avon, Heritage Lake, and all of Hendricks County, Reinhardt Heating and Cooling is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Baseball great Lou Gehrig was known as the Iron Horse for playing 2,130 consecutive games. But it was his reaction to his greatest challenge, the fatal diagnosis of ALS, that made Gehrig a household name and a beacon of strength for all those facing the disease. The Live Like Lou Foundation honors Lou's legacy and inspires hope for a world where ALS is no longer fatal. Donate or volunteer today at livelikeLou.org.
Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
The Ride with JMV.
There's a flag on the play, and Daniel Jones is down. Daniel Jones can't even make it over to the sideline.
We've been screwed for so long. I mean, it's almost like it's just another layer of screwing. The Colts at some point are going to win an AVN Lifetime Achievement Award because it's been such a huge screw job. It's incredible.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey there, Jake Query for Chicago's Pizza. 18 Central Indiana locations, 25 of them statewide. Chicago's Pizza that is so community involved, as a matter of fact, right now at multiple locations, helping out with different programs and charities at the holiday time. That's what you love about Chicago's Pizza. And the other thing to love about Chicago's Pizza, the lunch buffet. I'm talking about traditional pizza, deep dish pizza, salad bar with all the fixins. You have all those options, plus fresh hand-rolled breadsticks made right there in store today. All of that for just $13 with a soft drink with tax out the door. $13, can't beat it. There's no reason to not go to Chicago's Pizza and their 18 Central Indiana locations. Family-owned business that cares about basically three things: a story in every slice, giving back and being a part of, as they have been since 1979, the community. And in addition to that, making sure that it is affordable for you and your family. Don't forget the family meal deal, 2 medium, 1-topping pizzas and breadsticks for just $25. Chicago's Pizza, 18 Central Indiana locations, 25 statewide. Find the location near you at chicagospizza.com.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Okay, so do you happen to have Kurt Gerald's The Breaking News Sounder by chance? If not, I can do the breaking news sounder if that is easier. Okay, we have breaking news to get to here, Kurt. We're going to do a do-over here, Kurt. Again, we've moved over here. Everything's new, folks, so bear with us here. Do you happen to have the breaking news sounder, Kurt Gerald's? There we go. All right, multiple reports, and people are going to get super excited when they hear this at first. Multiple reports that Anthony Richardson has been medically cleared to return to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, that is not to say, and there has not been any indication, that that means that he is ready to return to the practice field. But it is my belief, and maybe I'm premature here, but it's my belief that now you start to analyze moving forward for the Colts about next year and your best course of action, in particular if you are Chris Ballard. Because if you are Chris Ballard or Shane Steichen, and yesterday was not, I mean, listen, you're on the road. You are playing against one of the best defenses in the NFL, and you've got a 44-year-old guy under center. You have your left tackle in Bernard Ryman that goes down. You have your right tackle in Braden Smith that's not there, and you've got to wonder what the long-term future for Braden Smith is. There are many areas. You have no DeForest Buckner. You have no Sauce Gardner. You have no Shavarius Ward. Some of those are pieces that may not even be here next year, admittedly. Braden Smith being one. Would it surprise anybody if he retires? Shavarius Ward being one. Would anybody blame him if he decides that enough is enough? We've talked about that with Kevin last week. All of those things. But even with that, it does feel like and none of us know exactly where things stand of what is the thought process with Carly Ursay-Gordon and Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen. But I thought yesterday, even though it's easy to say, again, the pessimist here. If you're pessimistic, it's easy to say they got beat in a game they needed to get in Seattle. Where do you go from here? But it's easy to also be optimistic and say, but they're down some of their biggest pieces, and still, with a 44-year-old off-the-streets quarterback, found themselves literally a play away from winning the game and winning in Seattle against one of the better, more balanced teams in the league with one of the better defenses in the league. But it comes down to, with Chris Ballard, how confident is he that he comes back? And how confident is Carly Ursay-Gordon in bringing him back? And I don't know that we definitively know either answer. It is my assumption at this point, it is my belief that Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen will return. They are still mathematically within chance here of the playoffs. And I know, yes, they started 7-1, and we know where they are now, right? We know what's happened. And the losing streak and everything else. But you can realistically point to injuries with that. And the other thing that comes into play here, and this is what I'm talking about with precedent, I think the ownership of the Colts has to realistically think of it like this. If they were to make a move at the top and bring in a new general manager, a new GM, and realistically, when you look at the situation the Colts are in, a franchise that has some pieces, but big-time question at quarterback, no first-round pick the next 2 years because they probably pushed in too early. If you look at that situation, then you look at it and you say, okay, if you're a new GM and taking that job, it's probably going to be, not unlike Chris Ballard and Ryan Grigson, a general manager that is going to go in because they want the opportunity to be a GM in the National Football League. I don't think an established, good situation elsewhere GM leaves a position to come to Indianapolis. And this is not like when you had Andrew Luck and it was like people are lining up because they know that Andrew Luck is going to be there. So a new GM comes in and realistically probably does the first-year approach that Ryan Grigson did. When Ryan Grigson took over the Colts, yes, I know that there were, Gary Brackett and Dallas Clark and Ryan Deem. There were a number of veteran players on the roster that were really good players who'd had really good careers and were really good pillars of this culture and community and everything else and franchise. But Ryan Grigson looked at it and said, I've got to start over with my own pieces all the way across the board and grow it organically with a young quarterback. And when you think about and consider the ages of some of the players that the Colts have and what year, where they are and what their value might be, a new general manager may come in and say, DeForest Buckner, really good player, but not a guy I'm going to have for 5 years. Michael Pittman Jr., really good player, not a guy I'm going to have in 5 years. Jonathan Taylor, really good player. Is that a guy I'm going to have in 5 years? And they may well look at it and say, there are pieces here. Zaire Franklin, really good player, not a guy probably going to have in 5 years. Shavarius Ward, really good player. Rinse and repeat what I'm saying here. A new GM could very easily look at this and say, this has the making more for something that needs a complete rebuild under my footprint if I'm taking over this franchise versus just the complementary pieces because of the age and the quarterback situation and the draft situation that I'm inheriting. And for that reason, I could see the Colts basically saying, and Carly Ursay-Gordon saying, instead of bringing in somebody who's going to want to completely tear everything down, It is better the safety of familiarity of bringing back someone who can then continue to complement the pieces that knows this locker room, because what I saw yesterday was this is a team that can still compete. Again, if you're looking at it optimistically. The question then becomes, at the quarterback position, what do you do moving forward? And I think the best course of action is to say to Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, you are coming back next year, and then let them determine what they think is the best course of action at the quarterback moving forward. I don't think it's Anthony Richardson, even though he's medically cleared to return to the team and off of IR, if those reports are accurate. It doesn't mean he's ready to get out there in the line of fire where they are right now. But if you've got to keep it vanilla for Phillip Rivers, you might as well keep it vanilla and run Riley Leonard and see what you have there. There are all kinds of confluences that are taking place. 239-1070 is the telephone number. Don Fisher going to join us top of the hour. We'll talk about Indiana, Kentucky, as well as the Heisman. But I want the thoughts of those of you out there. Are you perplexed? Are you encouraged? Are you discouraged about the Colts right now? Do you want to see Phillip Rivers again, or did you say, you know what, kudos to them and kudos to Phillip Rivers. They pushed in on that to see what could happen, but I saw enough. And if we're going to be vanilla, we might as well go vanilla with a young guy as opposed to vanilla with a guy that probably ain't going to be here next year. Anything else that jumped out at you yesterday? 239-1070 is the telephone number. I'd love to involve you in this interactive Monday. And Don Fisher coming up 1 o'clock.
It's BullseyeEventGroup.com, the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Your Colts game day experience, the best it can be. Log on and get your passes now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
Welcome to Wawa. We're open 24/7, so when the sun goes down but everyone's still up, Wawa has your late night fuel. Headed to a hangout? Stop in for snacks and sodas. Binge your favorite shows with burgers and hoagies. Gather around the table with garlic knots and a cheesy Wawa pizza. Or just chill on the couch with fries and whatever milkshake sounds good. Your night just got a whole lot tastier. Freshly made burgers, pizza, and so much more. When you got a late night craving, you got a Wawa. Price and participation may vary by store.
JMV here. The holidays are coming. Time to step up your game, whether you're shopping for a dream engagement ring or a beautiful piece of jewelry, or maybe treating yourself to a luxury watch. You've got to go see my friends at Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. They're the real deal. Family owned, no gimmicks, and the best lineup of engagement rings, jewelry, and watches anywhere. Omega, Breitling, David Yurman, and more, all under one roof. Don't fumble this holiday season. Head to Moyer Fine Jewelers just north of 146th Street in Carmel. MoyerFineJewelers.com.
From military life to a rewarding career in IT, kickstart your new journey in a matter of months in the fields of IT and cybersecurity, including AI. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including VA benefits.
This holiday season, remember, it's not only the thought that counts. 'Tis the season for gifting responsibly by only gifting Hoosier Lottery scratch-offs to adults 18+. The Butler basketball season is rolling along. Don't miss your chance to get in on the action. Your next chance to get to Hinkle Fieldhouse to cheer on your Butler Bulldogs is Monday, December 22nd, when the Dogs take on NJIT at 2 p.m. A weekday matinee. Come see the sunlight shine through the windows at iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse. With most students home for break, there are some great, unique seating options, so buy your tickets now at butlersports.com/buy tickets. Be a part of Hinkle Magic and make Hinkle your second home this season. Food insecurity is an urgent problem, one that impacts real Hoosiers. You can help today. Gleaners needs donations. Your contribution goes further with Gleaners. For every $10 you give, Gleaners leverages their resources to turn your $10 into $90 worth of groceries for families who desperately need help right now. Your gift benefits local community members, and every dollar counts. Gleaners also needs volunteers now to help with warehouse distribution. Go to gleaners.org and donate or get involved today.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Are you looking for a job where you can have a ton of fun and make great money? Twin Peaks is the team for you. They're looking for Twin Peaks girls, cooks, bussers, barbacks, and more. Text WORK, the number 4 TP to 85,000 to apply.
Family-owned Cynthia's Hallmark has gifts for everybody on your list this holiday season. One of the big sellers, the new DC UK Company ducks. These charming hand-carved bamboo root ducks with cute outfits and sweet names have been flying off the shelves. And while you're finding the perfect gift, check out the newest treasures from the Jim Shore collection. The snowman with the cardinal, absolutely heart-melting. And the Jim Shore Grinch sewing his Santa suit, with Max supervising, of course, is an instant favorite. Speaking of the Grinch, Cynthia's in Greenfield and on Allisonville Road carry the entire Grinch Light Up Village by Department 56. And yes, they also have the full Christmas Vacation Light Up Village for all you Clark Griswold fans. The beauty of Willow Tree figurines and ornaments are so personal and make such a memorable gift. Planning holiday parties? Don't forget my favorite, the easy-to-make award-winning Wind and Willow dips and cheese ball mixes. Your guests are going to love them. Shop family-owned Cynthia's Hallmark this holiday season. 116th and Allisonville Road, 96th and Lantern Road, 116th and Brook School Road, and in Greenfield.
With Wawa's Rewards program, you can rack up points on the items you buy every day, even fuel. Boost your totals with a breakfast sizzly. Score points with your morning coffee. With Wawa Rewards, points put the power in your hands. You can choose to redeem them for what you love most, like an iced latte for an extra pick-me-up or your lunchtime hoagie. Download the Wawa app today. When you gotta get rewarded, you gotta Wawa. Fuel rewards not available in New Jersey or were legally prohibited. See full details at wawarewards.com. Price of participation may vary by store.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Price Point Comfort. Owner James Swindle is excited for you to get to know his family-owned business.
I mean, I think the big reason is we're just not hiding behind our company name. We want to be out there. We want people to know who we are. Our connection is really family-oriented, so not only do we want to treat the customers like family, we want to take care of their family.
Put James and his family to work for you at PricePointComfort.com. Price Point Comfort Heating and Cooling is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
The Butler Bulldogs hit the road to take on the Connecticut Huskies. Tomorrow night at 8 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
239-1070 telephone number. The Colts yesterday in Seattle. Again, going to go back to it. All things told, and to be credit there, better than probably most people expected. Better than most people expected. But at the same time, still a loss. And therefore, because of that, where do you go from here? I know that they are still mathematically alive. But don't look now. But Jacksonville at 10-4, and Trevor Lawrence yesterday with one of his finest performances as a pro, and then Houston, who clearly has put things together, and you have both of them left on the schedule, and then obviously San Francisco coming up here on Monday night. But 239-1070 is the telephone number on this. It's going to be an interactive Monday as well. And we go to the phone lines where Bryce joins us. Bryce, what's going on?
Hey, Jake, I'm doing well. I mentioned this yesterday to Bill and Greg on the fifth quarter huddle, but I think – yes, it's a loss. Are you happy about it? No. You would have liked, to see a win and all those kinds of things. But I was very encouraged by many things I saw, both from the quarterback play of Phillip Rivers and on the defensive side of the ball. And then not to mention, the 60-yard kick by Groupie, kind of forgotten, or not forgotten, but I guess kind of overshadows since it's a loss. But
here's my thing, Bryce, I agree with all those things, and I want to hear a little bit more from what you had to say on some of those, because let me say this. I don't disagree with you fundamentally, Bryce. The problem is each thing that you pointed out, there's a counterpoint to it, right? In other words, the defense, you're right, the defense played very well, but in the end, when they needed one time to get pressure on the quarterback, they couldn't do it. Groupie, that kick was unbelievable, but the kickoff sets up Seattle. And then Rivers, I'd like you to expand on what it was about. I'm not saying you're wrong. Tell me what it was you liked about Phillip Rivers.
I think just fundamentally sound, even though he hasn't taken a snap in 5 years. He's 44 years old. I get all that. But I'm saying I think the mentality of this group, you saw, it really they really started to relax and play as a team. I'm not saying, last week they didn't play as a team, but I just feel like, from last week to yesterday, it was night and day. Again, was it the result we wanted? No, but I think you can take a lot of positives away from yesterday's performance.
I don't disagree. Bryce, I appreciate the call. I don't disagree with it. The problem I would have is this, and that is, and I don't mean this in I'm not picking on you when I say this. I'm saying this generically. We're at the point in the year where moral victories don't count. They just don't. And yes, I agree. Rivers, in what he did yesterday for that age and that situation, everything else, was impressive. It was impressive. But the problem is you were trying to steal one with it, and I don't know now that I think we have a very good idea what the limitation is there, and now that everyone knows what that limitation is, it allows for San Francisco, Jacksonville, Houston to completely differently game plan if, in fact, he is the guy that's going to be under center. Now, is Richardson available? A big question mark there, right? Big one. John's up next. John, what's up?
Hey, good afternoon, Jake. I had a couple points on the game. First, the wife and I love Phillip Rivers. She was wearing a Phillip Rivers jersey yesterday, but I will say I thought the result was disappointing, exciting, but we're only playing two-dimensionally versus three-dimensional game. What I mean by that is no RPOs because you're always out of the shotgun, no scramble ability, and no down the field capabilities. I think Riley Leonard is the choice because we don't have much else, I think, to win.
Well, John, tell me if you – I think you'll agree with this. And the thing about the thing between Rivers and Leonard would simply be the basement's the floor is the same on both, but with Leonard, maybe there is more of a ceiling just because at the very least you get a glimpse as to – and you are getting reps for somebody that's never going to be your starter, but if, in fact, he's going to be your backup for a couple of years, you need to know it now, whether or not there's something there. Whereas with if Rivers comes out and plays really, really well, okay, great, he's back to coaching high school in 6 months, right?
Right.
And
I agree with that.
And the other thing, and I appreciate the call, the other thing, like I said, with Rivers is we saw the limitation, and Seattle saw it and was able to just simply say, okay, look, we're going to take away this area of the field. Real quick, let's squeeze in Courtney. Don Fisher coming up top of the hour. Courtney, what's up? Courtney there? All right. Don Fisher's going to join us coming up, the voice of the Hoosiers. How about this? Did you ever think the day would come where Indiana football would not only be winning the Heisman, but be featured on 60 Minutes? And this is the crazy thing, I watched the Indiana basketball team get and fall victim to what was it at one point, a 29-9 run, something like that against Kentucky, and have a 7-point lead get squandered away in Rupp Arena, and the blood boil of Rupp Arena, the nightmares of Rupp Arena. Yes, it's where Indiana beat Duke. I love it. It's where Indiana beat Kent State. Correct. In Rupp, and when I see that floor, I still think of Tom Coverdale backing down Duhon and hitting a shot to give them the lead. Don't get me wrong. But House of Horrors when it comes to Indiana and Kentucky. And for Indiana to have an opportunity and be leading in Rupp against Kentucky and perhaps knock a huge blow to the Kentucky basketball program for the season, squander that away, and yet hardly it mattered to the Indiana fan base because everybody was still glowing in what happened with the Heisman ceremony right as that game was getting underway. I never thought I would utter those two things happening within the same time frame. But Don Fisher will join us to talk about that and more next. Hey, I want to tell you folks real quick about Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is the website. 317-353-2141 is the the telephone number. Love Heating and Air, been in Central Indiana for over 100 years. Over 100 years in Central Indiana for Love Heating and Air, and that means as an official Heil Heating and Cooling dealer, there is not a house or an architecture that they are not familiar with and figuring things out. And in addition to that, I love the family value of Love Heating and Air. I've known Chris and John Love, as well as their sister Emily, their dad Phil. I've known all of them for my entire life, folks, and I'm telling you, this is a family business that has family value and goes 4 generations deep because of loyalty to customer, 24-hour on-call maintenance, great product, knowledge of product, and integrity in the way that they execute. I am absolutely certain that you will be happy with the coverage and the treatment that you get from Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is the website, 317-353-2141.
The Ride with JMV.
It's not like IU and the program. Scott Dolson and Kurt Signetti just didn't trip into something great here. Oh, all of a sudden we kind of fell into greatness. It's not like somebody where you're getting this inheritance. I mean, Kurt Signetti, his inheritance was crap water for decades. This is the greatest coaching job we have ever seen.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 till 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, Colts fans, Crown Royal is a proud partner of the Indianapolis Colts, and this season it's not game day without the generous spirit of Crown Royal. Whether you're at the tailgate, in the stands, or watching from home, Crown Royal is the reason and the reward for coming together. Grab a glass with the Crown Royal rig at a stadium near you, because we'll be sharing the generous spirit with fans across the country. Crown Royal, fueling game day with a generous spirit. Visit www.crownroyal.com/royal rig for more on the Crown Royal Rig Tour. Please drink responsibly.
This is Kevin and Kim at Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. This holiday season, your home comfort is our business. We are here to keep your family warm and comfortable, just like we have for 40 years.
We appreciate your business throughout the year, and we are always here if you need us. From our entire Reinhardt Heating and Cooling family, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Keeping you warm in Danville, Avon, Heritage Lake, and all of Hendricks County, Reinhardt Heating and Cooling is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
You'll get more than you expect with McValue at McDonald's. Like deals on your late night go-tos when the party goes till dawn. And savings on their faves. So date night always passes the vibe check. Plus, when the fam shows up for the weekend, you can show out for breakfast.
Enjoy a $3 sausage McMuffin with egg or egg McMuffin and pair it with a $1.49 any size Coke. Price and participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer.
When it comes to restoring your hair and your confidence, picking the right team makes all the difference. And at We Grow Hair Indy, some of the biggest names in sports, radio, entertainment, trust them with their hair restoration. We're talking Olympians, former NFL players, maybe even a radio host or two. They all chose We Grow Hair Indy because the results speak for themselves. And I've talked with people that have had it out of state, out of the country, and oh boy, some of their endorsements, not the most glowing, but I can be glowing about We Grow Hair Indy. They are excellent. I was a little hesitant at first walking into the building, but they're very reassuring. The education I got from Darren Andrews and his staff made my decision for me, and then I went ahead with the Artist Robotic FUE hair procedure. And from your first visit, I think you're going to know why. We Grow Hair Indy's technology is unmatched, and their team has decades of experience and proven results you can actually see. So if you're ready, take control of your hair loss, choose the right team, and schedule your free in-person or virtual evaluation today. That's WeGrowHairIndy.com or call 317-522-2995.
You like saving money, right? We all do. That's why Allstate just lowered the price of car insurance. Not, but wait, there's a catch. Lower. Actually lower. So if you're shopping around or just want to see how much you could save, check Allstate first for a new lower auto rate that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Not available in every state. Only applicable for new auto insurance business. Rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings vary. Allstate North American Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
So you need last-minute gifts. No judgment. Get an extra 25% off during Kohl's Friends and Family Sale and find great gifts under $20. Like something cozy, something thoughtful, something that says you planned this all along. Yep, you're just one quick trip away from checking off the last gifts on your list. Save now at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles. Offer ends December 24th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
It's BullseyeEventGroup.com, the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Your Colts game day experience, the best it can be. Log on and get your passes now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
From the DriveHubler.com studios, this is 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
The Pacers are home to face the New York Knicks Thursday evening at 6:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's Paul. I'm the director of giddiness, and you're feeling giddy on Query & Company on The Fan.
Don Fisher is the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, and feeling giddy, I'm sure. And here's the thing about Don Fisher, folks. You know, double dipping football and basketball last week, and then all of the, obviously when you're going into Rupp Arena and you're calling a game with Indiana, Kentucky, and you say to yourself, anybody from that would need a little R&R, a little rest and relaxation. That comes for Indiana basketball now because they are off until the 20th when Chicago State will be next on the schedule. But for Don Fisher, just when he starts to relax and soak in the fact that Indiana football has a Heisman Trophy winner, they're getting ready for a huge bowl game, the Rose Bowl, chance at a national title, and then, of course, the glitz and glamour of the stopwatch of 60 Minutes calls and says, hey, we want to put you on television. Don, that was pretty cool, man, being on 60 Minutes, right?
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I spent about 2 hours with John Wertheim, who did the interview. It was taped about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and it was fun. And granted, 2 hours spent with John Wertheim is not not a negative in any way, shape, or form. But then, of course, that with the most of everything you said was going to be left on the cutting room floor, so to speak.
So your best stuff is on the floor, right? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, I don't know I know they left almost everything on the floor, so I guess it probably wasn't all that bad. So they probably cut out all the bad stuff and just left the good.
You know what? And we'll get to what happened on the floor with Indiana, Kentucky from a basketball standpoint in just a second, Don. But I want to focus on that and just the fact, and I know we've talked a lot about this, but is things now, the accolades are coming in, right? And you get a chance to kind of relax is probably the wrong word, but the downtime from the football standpoint before the Rose Bowl. Let's begin with what we saw, and I know that you were getting ready for a basketball game, so you couldn't see it live. But Fernando Mendoza winning the Heisman Trophy, bringing college football's most coveted prize to Bloomington. But in addition to that, the way, and I'm sure you saw some of it or were told about it, the way that he conducted and handled himself, represented his teammates, the university, and also the way that his teammates represented him once he won it. As somebody who has been up close, with an up-close seat, Don, for all of that, what was just kind of your overall recollection and the soak-in of that once you got a chance to go back and watch it?
Well, the thing that makes me proudest is how he represented Indiana University, the Indiana football program, and the Hoosier Nation as a whole. What a class young man he is. And the things he said in his speech were absolutely perfect. I can't remember, and I haven't seen a lot of Heisman speeches because I haven't watched a lot of the presentations, but I just don't know that anybody could have done a better job than what he did in his remarks after receiving that award. His presentation was absolutely perfect. Everything that I've heard from anybody that's talked about it has said exactly that same thing, that this guy is really a fine, fine young man.
Don, I think the thing that is remarkable is gosh, let's be real here. I mean, for the most touted player now in the history of Indiana football, at least in terms of accolade, I mean, there is no bigger award than the Heisman Trophy. And there are times where you see players that are great athletes or great players that are so great that it transcends who they are or who their program is. But my opinion would be that Fernando Mendoza, it is so perfect that it's him, because what he said is so symbolic of just the atmosphere of the Curt Cignetti stamp on Indiana football, and that is you can't worry what people say about you at the beginning. You have to make sure that you force them to have to say something about you in the end by sticking to task. And it is remarkable that they found a guy that represents Indiana. Maybe it's not, though. Does that speak to Curt Cignetti and the background work that he does on players?
That is absolutely right. I was going to you took the words right out of my mouth, because that's what Curt Cignetti does. And we've talked about this before, and I've mentioned it before, how he vets everybody he brings into his program. He looks for character first, and then if they can play the game, and what kind of mental frame of, how they look at it from a mental standpoint as well. All of those things are hugely important to Curt Cignetti. And it's why he has been able to do what he has done at Indiana University here in these last 2 seasons. It's just a phenomenal way of going about it. The vetting of everybody that comes into the program, from the players themselves to the people that he hires as his administrators and the people in the football offices, the assistant coaches, everybody that's involved, they got to do they have to do stuff the way he wants it done. And if it's not done that way, he'll change. He won't change. They will change, or they won't be there. It's that simple. And if you talk to any Indiana football player on this team, you'll get a good interview, because these guys know how to conduct themselves, because Curt Cignetti doesn't just teach football. He teaches the way it should be done. And that's why this program has become as good as it has in 2 years' time.
Don, it's funny, as Mendoza was speaking, everyone knows, obviously, that his younger brother is his backup and is, one would assume, going to be the heir apparent at the quarterback position at Indiana. And as they're talking to him at the Heisman, and he's talking to the crowd, and then they show that he's got a third brother, a younger brother, and I thought to myself, the rest of the Big Ten's got to be looking, saying, you got to be kidding me. We got to go through this 2 more times? Right? It's like this pipeline, yeah. Right?
Well, obviously, Alberto's pretty good, so I'm looking forward to watching him play next year. I hope that he is the starting quarterback. I think he can be the starting quarterback, but you know what? Curt Cignetti could bring somebody else in and say, look, you got to win the spot. And that's how he goes about it as well, because it's about what you produce as a player that gets you on the football field. And Alberto, well, he may be anointed. I doubt that he will be, right. But I would bet money that Curt Cignetti will say, you're going to have to win this position, because you've been just as a backup, but backup is not the same as starting.
But the one thing, Don, about this football team, Don Fisher's my guest. He's on the Java House Peel and Port guest line. He is, of course, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers. The one thing about this program to me that has been so impressive is, you never want to see attrition. You never want to see injury. But each time, seemingly, that Indiana has had that, they have been able to go in and, get guys that step in and just know their role. The narrative has been that Indiana is not a team, and they mentioned this a little bit in that piece on 60 Minutes. They're not doing 3.5-hour practices. So what is it that has, from guy 1 to guy like 105, each player so apparently aware and prepared if their number is called, where there is not a lot of drop-off, fortunately?
Well, and that area last year, outside of Curtis Rourke, who had a pretty serious injury, a torn ACL, a partially torn ACL, and played the whole season. They didn't want to lose Curtis. Curtis didn't want to stop playing, so he did. He didn't stop playing. He played tremendously, and at the same time, Indiana didn't suffer the consequences because of an injury in that particular role. And that's the one guy you don't want to have hurt out there. If you do, you better have somebody really ready to play coming back in at that position, because it's the most important on the football field, at least from an offensive standpoint. Here's the thing that's happened this year that because they didn't have a lot of injuries last year and didn't lose a lot of people during the season. They haven't had a lot this year either, but they've had a couple serious ones. Kellen Wyatt was the starting edge rusher on one of the sides of this football team defensively, back in probably went through the middle portion of the season as one of the best players on the team defensively. Keller White gets hurt. He goes down. Stephen Daly, who was his replacement and subbed in for him on several occasions during the season, comes in and plays almost better than when Kellen performed, because this guy was leading the country in tackles for a loss and was one of the sack guys as well. So here's the thing about Curt Cignetti. It's next man up, like we've heard of all these coaching days in the past, man up mentality. But it's beyond that, this guy, because they try to develop players going through the season. If something does happen, that they have somebody that has competence as a backup performer. And I think that's going to be the question mark this time for Indiana, because they lost Stephen Daly. Now, they've lost Wyatt and Daly, the two best rushers they probably had this year. Those two guys are on now because of injury, and they're going to put a third in there. What will this guy like? And will they have to change their scheme? How will it be done? That's the part of it for me that's going to be such an important thing, or at least an interesting thing to take a look at and watch as we go through this college football playoff scenario. Hopefully it's more than one game and possibly gets all the way to the championship game, and Indiana's a chance at a national title. But at this juncture, you don't know if this injury is a significant or could become a significant part of why they can't get it done. So I'm really interested in seeing that, because I still don't think that Indiana has the same talent level as the Blue Bloods that we're about to start playing, other than Ohio State at this point. And in my gut right now, I still think Indiana's going to win. I've developed the mentality, Jake, that I had when Bob Knight was Indiana's basketball coach for his first 20 or 25 years that he was on campus here. I never thought Indiana was going to lose. I thought they could win every ball game that they played in. And I'm starting to feel that way about Indiana football too.
Yeah, I mean, the preparation, I'm with you, Don, and it's been a slow, for me, admittedly, there is still this natural cynicism about it of, boy, how much longer can we enjoy this joyride? And then I just look at the confidence of a Cignetti and the execution. I go back to, Don, to me, it reminds me of when I watched Brad Stevens, and I've mentioned this on the air before. Brad Stevens' Butler basketball teams, like every loose ball and every rebound, they knew where the ball was going before the other team did, seemingly. It was like they had a crystal ball of what was going to happen with every play of the game. And Indiana football feels that way. The preparation, the understanding of what's going to take place in the game, and just always being at the right place at the right time. Now, speaking of basketball, Don, I did, before we let you go, want to get to this, and that is the game that took place in Rupp Arena, because for Indiana, look, they got out to a great start in that game, but obviously then Kentucky in the second half went on that big run for Indiana. Tucker DeVries was not able to kind of get his shot going with consistency and regularity. What was Kentucky able to do, or what is the shortfall, I guess, for Indiana that caused that kind of tail in two halves of that game in Rupp?
Well, and more than anything else, the early foul trouble was a major factor. They got in foul trouble quite early in this ball game. It had Lamar Wilkerson, who had 15 points in this contest, on the bench for probably 19 minutes of the game. So he was not a big factor as the game wore on, especially in the second half of this contest. The other thing that happened that was a negative was the turnovers. Indiana just did a poor job of taking care of the basketball in this particular matchup. Part of that is due, in my opinion, to the fact that Indiana doesn't have any room right now at the point guard or at the guard position at this juncture. They are thin. They haven't had Jason Drake, who is a transfer from Drexel, as a guy that could come in as a third guard or a third point guard, so to speak, because you've got Connor Enright, Tayton Connerway, and then Drake, and Drake hasn't played yet this year, and he still is not ready to play yet. He is getting some practice time in now, at least shooting it, and I don't know how much contact he's had in practices and those kind of things. But this is not a deep team. and Indiana can't afford to lose somebody. And when Sam Alexis went down in that ball game, I think almost every Hoosier fan that has watched this team perform here early in the season felt like if he's not available for any length of time, we're going to be in real trouble because we don't have a lot of depth on this team, period. And you've got to have guys that can step in there and if somebody does get hurt. And right now, that's a big problem. Think about this. Kentucky had two of their key players that have not been playing hardly at all this year. The Diabate kid was a guy that played the first 4 games and saw his first playing time against Indiana. After those first 4 games, he had to go through a process of getting better physically to be able to get back in there. He comes back and plays terrific in the second half of the game against IU, as did Jalen Lowe, who has been sporadically in and out of the lineup because of an injury that he suffered. And he comes back in the second half of that ball game and plays tremendous as well. So that depth factor for this Indiana basketball team right now is a real critical aspect of why or how they can get better if they can get some of these guys back on the floor, especially the two that I mentioned, Josh Harris being another one, along with the Drake kid. If they can get those guys out there, it gives them some depth and somebody they can call on, if nothing else, to give these guys a breather and so that they're not so tired down the stretch. In the second half of games, you can see Tatum Conaway start to slide a little bit with his performance because he is so tired out there because he's been playing most of the half.
And again, the breather comes now for Indiana because it is Chicago State that is next, but that game is not until the 20th coming up this weekend for the Indiana basketball team. Don, appreciate the time as always. A little bit of a connectivity issue there. So speaking of relaxing, we're going to let Don do exactly that. Don Fisher, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, certainly appreciate awesome perspective, by the way, from Don. But for whatever reason, it was not on Don's end. But again, working through things here. I felt bad because Don sounded for a little bit there like we were speeding him up. I didn't want to speed him up at all. I wanted to hear more and more and more about it. But I agree. You know, the depth for Indiana from a basketball standpoint. Then you look at the depth of Indiana on the football standpoint. Again, today, as I've talked about, it's kind of the tale of two, like we talked about with Mendoza and Phillip Rivers. Young quarterback on his way in, older quarterback on the way out. Tale of two things, if you will. Optimism and pessimism. And in the terms of Indiana athletics, I thought it was intriguing and of note. We talked about the 60 Minutes piece last night, and Don was a big part of that. And you've got to be thrilled for Don Fisher because the rest of the country's watching 60 Minutes. And by the way, am I the only one that when you hear the stopwatch of 60 Minutes, you get this like element of adolescent depression because it reminds me of being a kid watching the late NFL game. Starts to get dark outside. The game's over. You know your parents are getting ready to tell you that it's time to get down to do your homework. You can see your parents like getting set to wrap up the weekend and get set for the new week and lining everything up for a Monday, a dreaded Monday. And you've been watching all that, and you knew when you started to hear the stopwatch of 60 Minutes that, in fact, the weekend was officially done. And it was the most depressing sound ever. I always thought that the ending song of Saturday Night Live is kind of the same way. I've mentioned that before. But for 60 Minutes, when you hear that stopwatch, you're like, ugh. But last night, that sound was one almost of celebration because you knew, I knew that, going into it, that it was going to be the story on Indiana football. And like many, like all of you, Don Fisher has been a soundtrack of my life. And so many great moments in Indiana athletics with Don Fisher's voice on the mic, and to see, the old school way in which he's doing it, just the handheld mic up there that they showed in the press box. And to know that he is kind of the, obviously the ambassador or the representative of that athletic program, and to see him be able to speak of, and you could see it. You could see in him the excitement and the pride of Indiana football and what they've done in that story in 60 Minutes. At the end of the piece, it was pointed out the amount of financial investment that Indiana University has done to football or for football. I think the number they threw out was $60 million, and I don't know whether that's a $60 million investment to span 5 years, 2 years. I don't know. But they threw that number out, and they mentioned Mark Cuban, for example. And it is very easy for any program to look at that, hear that comment, and say to themselves, well, yeah, if Indiana's spending that kind of money in the NIL transfer portal era, they should be good. But I push back on that, and I say, wake up. They're not going out, at least as of now, this roster that you see, this Indiana team that's going to be playing in the Rose Bowl, this is not a team made up of, this is not Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma after leaving Alabama. You know, this is not, and yes, Mendoza is reportedly making upward of $2 million. And he was probably, he's the big fish here, right? But this is not 5 guys that transferred from Alabama, Florida State, Oklahoma, and Penn State. These are guys that came from James Madison. They weren't even out of high school signed to play in Division I FBS college football. I mean, Division I, yes, but not Power 5 college football. Actually, it was 1AA, you know, at the time they signed, right? And the players on that roster, this is not, let's not oversell it. Let's not make it more than what it is. Yes, they've spent a lot of money, and as Curt Cignetti mentioned, it was the facilities. It was the overall look, as he mentioned. You know, there were banners and things, and I've been through the weight rooms there. I've gone down. I've seen the facilities. They're state-of-the-art for certain, but they are everywhere. And they are beating people soundly who have facilities that are the same. Indiana was not buying itself into the national stratosphere. They were putting themselves in position to be equivalent in the national stratosphere or competitive in the national stratosphere, and they've exceeded even that. But one of the things that was mentioned in that piece was the basketball program in the Indiana, and it was a very understated thing at the end of that piece when he mentioned that Indiana had made a decision financially funding, in terms of their financial funding, to allocate it towards football as opposed to traditionally basketball. And that is no knock on Darren DeVries or that program and where I think Indiana basketball can be with him. But I think the reality is now that it is going to be maybe not so much. I'm not saying that football is going to come at the cost of basketball. But the basketball program now, Indiana, I think what Scott Dolson and Indiana did is they decided 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even beyond that, Indiana was one of the very first when it came to the NIL and the war chest and all of the collectives. You remember those 2 guys that were doing the podcast that were the original ones? They're like, yeah, they got to give us all kinds of access because we're the podcast. But Curt Cignetti was as well. Curt Cignetti had a list immediately ready to go at the beginning of this year of here's the 50 players in the transfer portal that would best fit for Indiana. Not the 50 best players, the players that would best fit for Indiana. Now, they don't get all of them, obviously. Mendoza would be one of them. But here's what it would cost. You know, how much do we have in our war chest, et.cetera. And Indiana had all of that set up. But the other thing that Indiana has done is that athletic department, if you go back and analyze how UCLA and USC ended up in the Big Ten and then Washington, Oregon, the thing that I'm telling you, and I've mentioned it before, USC was the first domino to fall because the Big Ten wanted West Coast television money, but they went after USC first, not UCLA. Not 11 national championships, John Wooden, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, Reggie Miller, not that UCLA. UCLA that had Ed O'Bannon that opened up the floodgates on the NIL stuff because of his lawsuit that for name, image, likeness. That's where NIL came from, was Ed and Charles O'Bannon at UCLA. but it was not UCLA and its basketball importance and imprint that the Big Ten went after. They went after USC because of football. They wanted USC football. And USC said, well, we want to bring UCLA with us. Okay, fine. If that's what's going to, then we'll take UCLA as well. Then they wanted Washington, Oregon because of football. And Indiana realized, you know what? We can be a basketball school. We can be a predominantly basketball school. But Kansas, Kentucky, to an extent, Kentucky just made a coaching change in football. Why? Because football is now the college athletic. It always has been, but now more than ever, college football and the trajectory of it is skyrocketing, and college basketball is flatlined. The level of interest, the revenue, the television numbers, the marketability of college basketball is less than what it was 10 years ago. College football is way higher and continues to rise because of the money that goes into the NIL and the television contracts that are football-based, because football is still a Saturday sport for the most part. College basketball, Kentucky, Duke, Florida, Houston, Gonzaga, these programs, when are they playing? Wow, they play Tuesday night on FS1. They play Thursday night on FS2. They play Saturday on ACC Network. It's all over the place. College football, it's like, yeah, they play on Saturday. Sure, there are a number of different outlets where it may be playing, but they play on Saturday for the most part. And college football is a juggernaut right now. College basketball is starting to lose ground. And I think Indiana, I don't think they'd ever come out and say it, but I think deep down Indiana knew it, and they were very smart in their strategy of, we are pushing all in on football. And that's where we are. Bob Kravitz, by the way, was going to join us coming up 2 o'clock, but Chap is going to join us at 2. Big news today in the NFL, specifically the Colts, at least if reports are true. I'll let you know what it is that came out earlier today, and we may talk with Bob Kravitz about that next.
Welcome to Wawa. We're open 24/7, so when the sun goes down but everyone's still up, Wawa has your late night fuel. Headed to a hangout? Stop in for snacks and sodas. Binge your favorite shows with burgers and hoagies. Gather around the table with garlic knots and a cheesy Wawa pizza. Or just chill on the couch with fries and whatever milkshake sounds good. Your night just got a whole lot tastier. Freshly made burgers, pizza, and so much more. When you got a late night craving, you got a Wawa. Price and participation may vary by store.
Xfinity is the network you can rely on. Like a close friend who will give it to you straight. The friend who will tell you that new haircut, it's not great. Friends make sure friends get good haircuts. And Xfinity makes sure you get a good deal on Wi-Fi. Xfinity gives you reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi at our best price. This holiday season through January 4th, get gig speed Wi-Fi for just $50 a month for 5 whole years. No strings, no commitments. Just super fast, reliable gig speed Wi-Fi with our best equipment and unlimited data included. Save yourself from questionable decisions and save over premises by coaxial cable. Actual speeds vary.
Without an Advent clinic nearby, people suffering needlessly from chronic nasal congestion and sinus infections would be stuck with either Band-Aid or sledgehammer solutions. Band-Aids are pills or nasal sprays, and they're not true solutions. Surgery is a sledgehammer, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Because most people don't need surgery for nose and sinus issues, nor do they want a 14-day recovery. Our unique Advent approach can, in 20 minutes in our office, open your blocked nose for good, with only 1-day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's 4 walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend. But here you will find effective and convenient in-office solutions to help you stop the need for Band-Aids and avoid the sledgehammer.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Most insurance accepted.
Hey, it's Jake Query. I've been talking a lot about winning football in Indy lately, but how about winning lunch? You could lose lunch with an overpriced sandwich meal or average greasy fast food, but why would you want to do that? It's so easy to win with lunch with Chicago's Pizza. Right now, the Chicago's Pizza team is prepping fresh ingredients and freshly made crust ready to bake right before you arrive You can get deep dish pizza, traditional pizza. You can choose thin or crispy crust. All amazing. And you can add a large healthy salad with homemade ranch dressing from the salad bar, hot fresh made breadsticks with marinara or cheese sauce, a fountain drink and dessert pizza. And you have a winning lunch right there at a great price. It's fresh and delicious, all for just $13 all in. This is a no-brainer deal. Get in, get great food, and get out fast. It's Chicago's Pizza all-in $13 lunch buffet. Get it weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at 18 Indiana area locations, 25 statewide. Find the closest location near you at chicagospizza.com. Be a winner at lunch at Chicago's.
With Wawa's Rewards program, you can rack up points on the items you buy every day, even fuel. Boost your totals with a breakfast sizzly. Score points with your morning coffee. With Wawa Rewards, points put the power in your hands. You can choose to redeem them for what you love most, like an iced latte for an extra pick-me-up or your lunchtime hoagie. Download the Wawa app today. When you gotta get rewarded, you gotta Wawa. Fuel rewards not available in New Jersey or were legally prohibited. See full details at wawarewards.com. Price of participation may vary by store.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like those clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here. 3 more new customer requests just came in. Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Presenting a Gain Flings love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
Hey fellas, it's JMV and you have worked hard all year. Now it's time to treat yourself, and there's no better way to do that than a new watch from Moyer Fine Jewelers in Carmel. Omega, Breitling, Hublot, and the Midwest's best selection of pre-owned watches. The watch guys at Moyer know their stuff, and they've got the best selection and pricing anywhere in Indy. So do yourself a favor, head to Moyer Fine Jewelers, where Indy goes for the best watches in the game. Moyer Fine Jewelers, just north of 146th Street in Carmel, MoyerFineJewelers.com.
With over 100 online casino-style games, Chumba Casino is your destination for nonstop entertainment. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 21+.
If it's happening with the Indianapolis Colts. Touchdown for the Colts, and it's Josh Downs. Then it's happening on the Fan. It's wow! It's good from 60. Blake Groupie picked off by the Seahawks. Final score, it's Seattle 18 and the Indianapolis Colts 16. Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The official home of the Indy Sports Fan.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You know, there's an age-old adage when it comes to doing broadcasting that, you know, it's kind of like doing a play. If you miss a line or you know, a prop isn't there, the audience doesn't know it. And the audience typically is like, yeah, I don't, that doesn't even concern me. But I do feel like, and so my point being, you know, when there are little nuances that we notice here, Kurt, you and I, at the fault of literally no one, because we are operating in a brand new facility with brand new studios, and the engineering team here has been unbelievable in moving us from, from our old building to this new location and building us literally state-of-the-art set. I mean, it's a gorgeous studio that we're in. There are a ton of things to be grateful for and thankful for, and everybody's hard work and diligence in doing this, especially during the holidays when some people are on, some people are off. But with that said, it does complicate at times things that the listener may notice. You know, connectivity issues or the inability to play certain things on the show that we're used to playing or letting people hear from things. And it would normally be naive of me to point that out, maybe even counterproductive, except for that, you know, we're obviously all aware of it. It's a little beyond anyone's control. But I'm sitting here in our new studios. I'm overlooking, and I can see outside, and it's 5 or 10 degrees outside. And I can see guys and gals that work a lot harder than I do, that are doing jobs far more important than mine right now out there, in terms of clearing the street and working on infrastructure of the city, and really important, impactful jobs, and doing it in not great weather conditions and difficulty and challenge. And the reality is that we get to have a super fun job talking about sports, doing what we can to have fun each and every day, and hopefully add a little bit of fun to people. And so therefore, who in the world would I be to complain about any of it or to point out about any of it, other than to say I appreciate anybody's patience if they do notice a little thing here and there where we're aware of it and moving forward. And it's all short term. I mean, it's all going to be probably within a week or so that it's all worked out. But nonetheless, I appreciate people that actually have legitimate, important jobs where they work very, very hard in far more adverse conditions. I appreciate those folks, and it does put in perspective the fact that essentially what we're doing is having fun on a playground. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. But joining me now, because there is plenty to talk about with it, joining us now on the Java House Peel and Pour guest line, javahouse.com is the website. Jake25, your way to get 25% off your order at Java House, including the Peel and Pour pods, whether it be the Wrangler Energy Drink, the Liquid Science Hydration Drinks, or the Colombian Coffee, all of it available by bundle by entering my name at javahouse.com. Bob Kravitz joins us now from bobkravitz.com. Of course, the lead authority on many subjects when it comes to talking about them and covering them for many years here in Central Indiana. And Bob, I will give you your choice. We can talk Colts from yesterday. We can talk your alma mater and Indiana football. Which one would you like to lead with?
Let's start with the beloved alma mater.
Okay. Did you ever think, Bob, in a gabillion years, that the Heisman Trophy would be at Indiana, and your overall thoughts on Mendoza's speech and just the vibe of Indiana football?
Yeah, I thought his speech was great. I saw where Skip Bayless, who has no soul, said it was too rehearsed and memorized. I'm like, dummy, it's on a teleprompter. Of course he's reading it. I mean, he's memorized it to a certain degree. In fact, the night of the Big Ten game, he couldn't sleep, so he put on a bunch of Heisman Trophy speeches that he had collected just to study up, which gives you some idea what this kid is all about.
Obviously, it also gives you an idea that he knew this was a reality. He had to know that the Big Ten title game. Bob, I was intrigued by this. For all of the discussion and narrative that the Big Ten title game was going to be for the Heisman, and Gus Johnson only said it 646 times on the broadcast, Julian Sain finishing fourth surprised me. Did that surprise you?
Not really. Not after that game. I think he would. I figured he'd drop down one or two spots. I think there was a lot of momentum for Diego Pavia coming into it. So I was not surprised at all that it went the way it went.
The goodwill that Diego Pavia had going into the Heisman, he did a nice job of flushing that away by Sunday afternoon, did he not?
Oh, my Lord. And, I'm glad he had an apology, but I can promise you that a lot of people a lot smarter than him forced the issue. That's going to I don't know when he's going to go pro, but that's going to follow him around for a very long time. I mean, if he's trying to be Johnny Manziel, go right ahead, but things didn't work out well for Manziel.
I saw somebody that said he's Temu version of Johnny Manziel. I thought it was perfect. Good player, no question, but yeah, bad spin on it. Okay, Bob, what I was just talking about, and I want the opinion of Bob Kravitz. As I was watching Mendoza's speech, it was not long after that I then, hit the other option in my sports viewing on Saturday evening, and that was Indiana, Kentucky, and Rupp. There was a time in this state with this fan base and this university that everything was secondary to that game, and yet as Indiana saw that game get away from them, it was consoled by the fact that there was this glow of a Heisman Trophy winner. And I know the easy question would be, is Indiana now a football school? But in terms of resources, has Indiana shifted its financial resource away from basketball to the point where they are now dialed in with the rest of the country of this is a football-first financial investment, and basketball then is secondary?
I don't think they move the money around. I think with more money coming in from all kinds of different sources, that they're putting more money now into football. I mean, Brian Haynes has gotten 4 raises in the last year. I mean, every time somebody expresses some interest, but that's great. It's great for Brian Haynes. It's great for Indiana University. I'm old enough to remember that the days when a top assistant was gone, as soon as they got a decent offer, and IU would not try to match. So I don't know that they're necessarily moving more money from basketball to football. I should know the answer, but I think because they got more money coming in, more money is then going to both sports, but football in particular, because football pays the bills.
Okay, Bob, let me ask you this. Is it just me? It seems to me, I just got done talking about this. It seems to me that right now in 2025, college football is on this meteoric rise in terms of its popularity, its relevance, its discussion, its finances, its television, all of it. And college basketball is on this either plateau or decline of it in terms of all of those things that I just mentioned. Is that reality, or is that because I went to Indiana, which is now having football success and struggling in basketball?
Yeah, I don't know about, about basketball diminishing in the public eye, but certainly, it's funny when NIL and the transfer portal came in, everybody was saying it's going to be the death knell of college football. The haves are going to dominate. The have-nots are going to struggle. And exactly the opposite has happened. You've got Vanderbilt. You've got IU. You've got Texas Tech. Now the ground is flatter. Like they say, the world is flat. The old Thomas Friedman book, and that's kind of the way it is with college football these days. I think as much as we all hate the idea of the portal and guys getting paid, it's been great for college football. I mean, look at how competitive things are right now.
Bob, should Phillip Rivers start Monday night against San Francisco? Anthony Richardson, by the way, for those that are just joining the program, multiple reports now. Anthony Richardson medically cleared to return to the Colts. That does not mean that he is ready to play on Monday night, but medically cleared to go back on the field and practice. Should Phillip Rivers be the starter Monday night?
Yeah, I think he should. Look, for a guy to come back after 5 years off and have 3 practices, what did anybody expect? I thought he exceeded what I thought he could do. I thought it was going to be something of a clown show, and it was not. He did trip over the logo at midfield one time, which is pretty funny. But I thought he handled himself really well. The only way I start AR is if with a game or 2 left, they're mathematically out of it, and he's ready to go. Because they got to find out at some point what this guy has to offer. Can he come back as a backup? Do they want him to be a backup next year to Daniel Jones? I think all those things are still to be determined by Chris Ballard or whoever's running the show.
Well, okay, and I want to get to that, Bob, but real quick, my thought is this, though. I agree with you on Rivers. I mean, I thought yesterday, look, the Colts were within a whisker winning that game. I mean, kudos to them. And I thought Rivers was a very good game manager, right? And I have no knock on Phillip Rivers or the way he played, except for this, and that is that because of the fact that as the game went on, Seattle figured out, look, we don't need to drop back here because he is not, with the exception of the one pass to Pierce, he's a dink and dunk quarterback at this point, right? And their game plan was fairly vanilla. If that's the case, why not go with the guy that you know is at least going to be on your roster? And I'm not talking about Richardson. In Leonard, if you're going to go with a super vanilla game plan, why not go ahead and go with the guy that at least you can find out what is there for you moving forward in terms of a depth piece in Riley Leonard?
I still think that your best chance, if you're still in it, I believe your best chance of winning is with Phillip Rivers, which, you're talking about AR. He hasn't practiced. He hasn't done much of anything for months and months and months. To expect him to come off this terrible injury and and have a modicum of success, I think that's a long shot. Now, if they're mathematically out of it, put AR in there. What can it hurt? He needs the reps. But as long as they're still in this thing, and they are just barely, I go with Phillip Rivers.
Mathematically, Bob, they're in it, okay?
Yeah.
Legitimately speaking, are they in it?
No, they're not. They'll be very fortunate to win one of these last three games, and that's not going to be enough to knock off Houston or certainly Jacksonville.
Do you believe that Anthony Richardson will play again this year?
Yeah, I do. I think he might get a shot in the last game of the season or possibly the last two games. Yeah, sure. If he's healthy and ready to go, get him in there. If it doesn't matter, then yeah, sure. Then I would play him.
Do you believe that Chris Ballard is the guy that's making decisions for next year?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And to follow up, to answer your expected follow-up question, I believe Ballard will be back next year. I believe Steichen will be back. I think they're going to be given a mulligan for this season. I think Carly Ursay Gordon, went into this thinking it's playoffs or bust. But given the circumstances, given the 7-1, 8-2 start with Daniel Jones, I think they're going to give the front office a mulligan and see if they can't get it right next year.
Okay, and then the other thing, Bob, that I was talking about, I want your thoughts on this. Bob Kravitz, my guest, Java House Peel and Pour guest line. The Jones injury, bad as it may be, if there's a silver lining there, it's the fact that now, theoretically, his price tag, yeah, you could franchise tag him, but his price tag to bring him back is not going to be what it was anticipated it was going to be if he's healthy and they were on the trajectory they were headed. Now, question is, do we know for certain that when it comes to the rehab and re-entering back into a place that this is where Daniel Jones wants to be?
I got to think so, just because of his relationship with Shane Steichen and the success that he had throughout the first 9-10 games of the season. I think he would be foolish to go elsewhere. I think he's comfortable here. He's a low-key guy. This is a low-key town. He's not built for New York. That's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just not his personality. So I think he will be back. I think the price tag won't be quite what it was, as you mentioned, but he'd be crazy to go elsewhere because he resurrected his career here. Why would he want to go anywhere else?
The only place that I've heard with a possibility of that, and after yesterday, who knows, right? The only other place I heard was Minnesota. The fact that because he has familiarity with Minnesota, that if they wanted to do a 180 and say, you know what, we will bring you back after all, that would be a possibility or something that could intrigue him. That's the only thing that I've heard.
Yeah, well, if he goes to Minnesota, he's going to have to fight for a job with McCarthy. If he stays in Indianapolis, it's his job.
Well, that's what I mean. Only Minnesota only if they said, hey, you know what? Like I said, if they did a 180 on it and said, you know what, this is not the guy. So, and I'm not.
They say it's not the guy. Okay. Yeah, I guess that is a possibility. But to me, you don't mess with happy, and I've done that in my career, and it bit me in the ass. So, you don't mess with happy, and I think he's got a good situation here with a coach who gets him. And I think he'd be crazy to look elsewhere.
Bob Kravitz, Musings of an Old Sports Writer. BobKravitz.com is the website, and you can read all of his work there. Bob Kravitz, Musings of an Old Sports Writer at BobKravitz.com. Java House, Peel and Pour Guest Line. Bob, been too long. Need to have you back on, man, but I appreciate it.
Sounds good, buddy. Take care of yourself.
All right, Bob Kravitz joining us, Java House, Peel and Pour Guest Line. All right, we mentioned the Anthony Richardson news. What does it mean? We'll get into that. Mike Chappell, who was on top of this story, going to join us here coming up within 10 minutes.
It's BullseyeEventGroup.com, the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Your Colts game day experience the best it can be. Log on and get your passes now. BullseyeEventGroup.com. JMV here for my friends John and Chris Love at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Make sure your home is cozy and comfortable during these icy cold winter months. Need heating service? Tell them JMV sent you. If a repair is needed, Love will waive the $95 service fee. And should you need a new furnace, Love is a Heil Heating and Cooling dealer. Call Love today, 317-353-2141. Let Love and Heil take care of your home today. 317-353-2141. Tell them JMV sent you.
This Christmas, get a bonus AI Essentials course when you enroll in any My Computer Career IT program by the end of the year. That's a $3,900 value. Attend classes online or on campus. Enjoy lifetime job placement support and IT certifications in high demand. Go to mycomputercareer.edu today and take the free career evaluation. That's mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner. Conditions apply to AI offer and financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill.
Four Winds South Bend's Ribbontown Event Center will be transformed into a night of glitz and glamour for a New Year's Eve party to remember. Enjoy live entertainment featuring DJ Jellyfish and Naughty, party favors, appetizers, and a cash bar. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. Dress to impress and ring in 2026 with a party at Four Winds South Bend. Your entertainment escape.
Hey, JMV here. As winter weather heads our way, AAA wants to make sure you don't get stuck in the snow and the ice. So take advantage of AAA's holiday promotion and join now so you can rest easy knowing the entire family is taken care of. Roadside service requests are simple. Download the AAA mobile app, request service, and track your service responder in real time. The AAA crews are watching the weather closely and are ready for whatever comes our way so you can have peace of mind that if something happens, you will be taken care of. That's the AAA that we all know. So check them out today and become a AAA member. That's AAA.com. As I've mentioned before, this holiday season, what a great gift-giving idea. The membership with AAA. That's AAA.com. And download the mobile app. Do that right now. It is so easy. That's AAA.com. Download the mobile app. Tell them JMV sent you.
Bowling, bowling, bowling. Keep them balls a-rolling. Bowling, bowling, bowling. Royal Pin.
The holidays are rolling in at Royal Pin Entertainment. Celebrate the season your way with cheer-filled holiday parties. From thrilling bowling lanes to action-packed laser tag, there's fun for everyone. And when it's time to refuel, enjoy delicious catering options that'll satisfy any crowd. Need to unwind? The full-service bars are ready to serve. At Royal Pin Entertainment, they cater to events of all sizes with some of the largest event spaces in Indianapolis. Perfect for corporate Christmas parties, family gatherings, or any festive get-together. Give your group the unforgettable holiday experience they're hoping for.
Set them up, knock them down, send them flying, spinning round.
Book your holiday event now at RoyalPin.com. That's RoyalPin.com.
Royal Pin. Bowling, bowling. Royal Pin.
The Fan cares, and if you or someone you care about needs food assistance, we have resources for you, including food distribution locations with an interactive map. Also, learn how you can make a difference for friends and neighbors in need, all at 1075thefan.com.
Hey, JMV, thinning hair. This year, grow your hair back like I did. Call 317-522-2995 or visit WeGrowHairIndy.com today.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mike Chappell has been very busy today, not just because the Colts were in Seattle last night, almost won that game, but because also there's big news at their quarterback position. For that reason, he's got still more work to do today, but still going to find time for us, and we will do that next as we return here with Mike Chappell, the dean from CBS 4 WXIN Fox 59 on the other side.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan, your home for indie sports. Now with even more ways to listen.
Listen on air.
Online at 1075thefan.com.
And on our free app.
Stay connected to all things indie sports, including the latest news, show blogs, and catch up on what you've missed with our podcast.
We're never more than just a click away.
Download our app at Google Play and on the App Store. From your home for indie sports.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You'll get more than you expect with McValue at McDonald's. Like deals on your late night go-tos when the party goes till dawn. And savings on their faves. So date night always passes the vibe check. Plus, when the fam shows up for the weekend, you can show out for breakfast.
Enjoy a $3 sausage McMuffin with egg or egg McMuffin and pair it with a $1.49 any size Coke. Price of participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer.
It happens every holiday. Food comas, piles of wrapping paper, Uncle Harold's asleep in the recliner. It's only $5.45. But then, Cousin John rolls in with holiday scratch-offs from the Hoosier Lottery. Starting at just $1, they're the perfect gift for making the most of the one time of year all 30 cousins are gathered together in one living room. Unwrap instant fun with holiday scratch-offs. Hoosier Lottery, champions of play. Must be 18 or older to play. Gift responsibly.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hi, I'm Emily, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company, where a small box with a burgundy bow will help you win the holidays. As an in-house designer, I love creating meaningful, fine jewelry gifts. Choose a necklace with a gorgeous infinity charm to symbolize your everlasting love. Or go for a personalized piece with an engraving, their zodiac sign, favorite color gemstone, or their initial accented with pave diamonds. Because a friend wants you to be a holiday hero. Stop by or shop now at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Hey there, it's Jake Query with a question for you. What are your dinner plans? Or do you even have a plan? I want you to be a hero tonight. Be a winner. Be a champion as a dinner provider. Get the Chicago's $25 medium pizza special tonight. 2 medium one-topping pizzas and an order of fresh hot breadsticks, all for just $25. You can pick up, delivery, dine in, DoorDash, whatever it might be. Be a winner at dinner with the $25 medium pizza family meal deal. This is not cheap, average, fast chain pizza. This is pizza with crust, handmade every day and topped generously with fresh ingredients made by local owner-operators who obsess over every slice. Add a salad, pasta, or sandwich to make any picky eater happy. Order online at chicagospizza.com. Click on your closest closest location and order the $25 medium pizza family meal deal. 25 is the special number, $25 medium pizza family meal deal, and 25 Indiana locations, 18 of them in Central Indiana. Make the entire family happy tonight. Even better, make yourself happy tonight with Chicago's Pizza. Chicago's Pizza, where there's a story told in every slice.
This is Jim with Jim's Heating and Air Conditioning. If you need help in Boone County or Hamilton County, give us a call.
Just go to jimsheating-air.com. Jim's Heating and Air Conditioning is your trusted local independent American Standard air dealer.
BullseyeEventGroup.com, the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Your Colts game day experience, the best it can be. Log on and get your passes now. BullseyeEventGroup.com.
From the DriveHubler.com studios, this is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
WIBC HD2, HD3, Indianapolis.
Tuesday on the Fan Morning Show, Rick Carlisle joins us to give a state of the Pacers. James Boyd returns. We'll get his thoughts on Colts and Seahawks as well. Everybody, stay warm. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mike Chappell is the dean of Colts writers. WXIN, Fox 59, CBS 4. Joins us now, Java House Peel and Pour guest line. Mike, we'll get right to the big story in terms of today versus yesterday to start, and that is that Anthony Richardson medically cleared for the Colts. Now, if you could please elaborate for me on what that means in terms of Anthony Richardson's availability in say, Monday night against San Francisco.
0. A little more than 0, but he hasn't practiced since he fractured that orbital bone, October 12th. So all this means, and I realize people get all hyped up because he's been cleared for the next step, but they haven't, the next step has to be them opening the 21-day practice window, and then see how he practices a week, 2 weeks, and then see. Well, there's only 3 weeks to go. Monday night would be beyond any expectation. I just don't see it. I mean, DeForest Buckner played, most of the season. Then he had the neck injury, and they opened up his practice window last week. He practiced 3 times, limited, and they didn't activate him. I would be so beyond shocked. I think there's a better chance of you playing Monday night than Anthony Richardson.
And I'm saying this to play devil's advocate, Chap, but at the same time, if Anthony Richardson is not able to play because he hasn't practiced since October 12th, that means that they actually will go with the guy that hadn't played in 5 years, right? I mean that.
Well, yeah, but see that would. But let's take Rivers out of the mix. If not for Rivers, then it wouldn't change the rehab process, the return process of Anthony Richardson. If you're sitting here today with Riley Leonard and Brett Rippon, there would be a third guy here, obviously. That wouldn't mean, well, boy, we got to get AR up to speed by Monday. No, because his is a separate storyline as opposed to what they need at quarterback right now. So that's what people have to understand is, one, he hasn't practiced. Allen Iverson practiced since the middle of October, and you're talking about a fractured face. A part of his face has been fractured, and he's been able to do lifting. He's been able to do some light running, but to think that he's close to getting hammered by a defensive player or two, I think that just strains reality myself.
So, Mike, the reality is, Mike Chappell, my guest, I thought yesterday Phillip Rivers, and you tell me where you disagree here, okay? I thought Rivers, all things considered, it was remarkable what he was able to go out and do, just at the age of 44, 5 years off, etc. But as the game went on, I think it was very clear that Seattle figured out, look, we don't have to drop back and protect against the long ball here. We just need to basically put enough in the box to spy on Jonathan Taylor and not allow Rivers to make an 11-yard completion and just keep it as dink and dunk. And my thought process is, while I have the utmost respect for Phillip Rivers and the Colts yesterday attempted what they did. And to be within that game, I get it. Or, close in that game, I get it. But if you are going to have to vanilla down your offense and keep it relatively limited in terms of your play call, why not go with the guy that is the younger player that has a chance to be on your roster next year and see what you have in him for a depth piece moving forward? Tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't think they see it your way. I believe that they believe that Rivers, with all of his limitations, and there are limitations, we saw them all yesterday. Forget that you can't forget he's 44 because he's 44. But with all the limitations, physically, the arm strength is not what it was in 2020. It's not. Still give him a better chance to win if everything else works. I don't know that I can depend on Blake Grupe hitting 60-yard field goals all the time. And I really don't know that I can expect this defense to keep the opposition, Frisco, Jacksonville, and Houston, to no touchdowns. That was a superb effort by the defense until they needed a stop. A stop at the end, 42 seconds to play, and Darnold had to make a couple completions. Having said all that, I still believe that internally they think Rivers and all that he does. Remember when, at the start of the season, when Shane Steichen talked about why he chose Jones over Richardson, it was the command of the game, command of the line of scrimmage, the operation of the offense. And I still believe that their thought process is that he does all that stuff, getting into a good play, getting out of a bad play, and recognizing defenses. That helps compensate for what he can't do with his arm that he used to do every week. If that's an indictment of Riley Leonard, then so be it. That'll be one of the first couple of questions to Shane Steichen in about a half an hour is Rivers going to start on Monday night?
Right.
And I've got to believe he's going to say yes. Both he and Rivers talked after the game about how, I only had 3 days of practice and, I thought things went pretty well. And the more I play, the more the offense can expand. Although there's limitations on how much it can expand with Rivers' limitations. I think the fan base needs to understand that barring injury, I think the plan is for Rivers to start the last 3 games. Now, maybe Steichen throws a curveball today. I don't think so. And the Richardson thing has juice to it from the outside. But I wonder if the team really expects him to play in 2 or 3 games. I don't think so, but maybe Shane Steichen will expand on that in a bit as well.
Chap, do we have any update on Bernhard Raimann?
No. They were waiting for an MRI. They don't think it's IR level injury, but keep in mind there's only 3 games left. And to have a tackle with, if he was out there, Brett Bensley had a good picture, our photog guy, audio or the video guy, a good picture of Raimann back out there yesterday with a big brace or whatever on his arm. But to have at least it's his right arm to where he can still reach out with his left arm at left tackle and play, I guess. But injuries at this time of the year are not good because you're running out of time to rehab. So hopefully he's back. I would be surprised this week. I just would. But hopefully he's back before this thing's over.
Chap, if you look at the fact, the Colts are now down 2 tackles, right, on both sides. And
yep.
Braden Smith, we'll see what happens long-term with that off the IR. But the best protection at this point for the quarterback, whether it be Phillip Rivers or whoever it may be, I thought was, in fact, Jonathan Taylor. Because conventionally you would think Seattle would have just said, we're just going to blitz from the left and right side, ad nauseum here, right, and get after Phillip Rivers. Except for that, I think they didn't want to run past their coverage of Taylor. So they were better off just kind of keeping it right behind the line, stacking the box to spy on Taylor, limit the pass game to, say, 7 yards and in, and not get too aggressive as to not then get beat by a draw, if you will, to Taylor, or let Taylor beat them. Is that overthinking it, or do you think that's the way that played out?
No, it's how it played out. And if I'm Seattle, if I'm Frisco or anybody, I'm not overly concerned with Phillip Rivers. I'm just not. Then convince yourself all you want. At some point, more times than not, something's going to go wrong. A bad throw, somebody dropping the ball, a sack, a holding penalty, if ball start, you get behind the chains, and then you're in trouble. I would make Jonathan Taylor beat me all the time. And, people should notice they ran the ball 30 times yesterday and threw it 27. I'm sort of surprised it was that imbalanced. I thought they may run the ball more. So, they're really going to test Jonathan Taylor's stamina and patience, because this is a guy that was averaging like 6 yards a carry, mid-season, and now it's like 3.5, 3.6 because it's just tough sledding. And the only way to back people off is to be aggressive down the field. And I don't see that happening. A player I feel bad for is Alec Pierce, because I just don't see them.
One target yesterday. He second highest number of snaps and one target, right?
There was really two, because one of them was wiped out by a penalty, I think.
Okay.
But no, one official target and on that great back shoulder throw. But so you can't maximize what some of your players do, but this is where they are, and it's got the potential to be not very. We've had the entertaining part. We have. Yesterday was almost movie-like. It almost was. Again, if the defense makes one more play and you win a game that would have really added something to Rivers' legend, and it's already pretty good. But I don't see a steady dose of this type of an offense. Was it 3.7 yards a play? That's just hard. And I just wonder how much the defense has left in it when you're already playing with that Buckner and Ward and Gardner. Maybe they get Buck back this week. Maybe they get Gardner back. But I thought the defense gave all it had until it didn't have enough to give at the end. But that's just asking a lot for the rest of the team to do so much more, because the offense just can't do enough.
Chap, I thought Amir Abdullah yesterday was involved, obviously, more than we have seen him in the past. Is that because they wanted to keep balance with Jonathan Taylor, or is that because he has a capability that is within the comfort zone of what Phillip Rivers likes?
Probably both. Again, I mentioned on social media yesterday that JT needed 25 carries minimum, and that's what he got. But they're not going to run him 30, 35 times. They just aren't. They just wear him out and wear him down and all that. So Abdullah gave him a pretty good change-up. Somebody mentioned that it was almost like Nyheim Hines-like, how he can do things. He's better out of the backfield than JT is. He just is. So that's where game planning. I thought game plan-wise, considering the personnel limitations, I thought Steichen had a really good offensive game plan. And Rumo had a really good defensive game plan.
It was actually, and people can feel free to come at me with this. Maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, it was actually a well-coached game, I thought. Given some of the handcuffs put on them, I thought it was a well-coached game.
They were 13-point underdogs. I mean, with my great knowledge, I had them I picked them to get beat 31-13 in my game preview, just because I didn't think that they could do enough in other areas, and they did. Again, I'm not going to just bank on, if we just get in position to have Groupie hit a 60-yarder. I mean, let's not go there, because that's asking too much. So again, I just wonder what they've got for an encore after doing almost everything right, and you lose with a 56-yard field goal at the end. I wonder how they regroup. They will. These guys are prideful. They get paid well, and this is their job. I mean, they're not going to go out there and lay down at all. But at some point, and they do not talk about it internally, they don't. But at some point, your personnel limitations keep you from doing what it takes to win a game. And I'm just wondering how close the Colts are to that with three extremely tough opponents coming up.
Chap, I know that if I'm not mistaken, you're getting ready to go in. Shane Steichen's availability, real quick.
Right.
The things that we're wanting to learn today, the question marks today that you are looking for answers for that you'll have at CBS 4 and WXAN Fox 59 are?
First is Rivers. Are you going on with Rivers? And I think they are. And then the follow in some form or fashion will be. But what would make you think that it'll be better, marginally better, this week and the week after? I know they're going. It's going to be repetitions and familiarity, and then we'll ask AR questions, and I don't think he'll move the needle much on that. I don't think we'll get much of an update on Bernhard Raimann, but it's going to be about Rivers and moving forward with him. How did he feel today when he got out of bed? After he wasn't out there mowing the grass at age 44. He was getting beat on pretty good.
Right.
So it'll be Philip Rivers driven, of course.
All right, Chap. We appreciate the time as always. We'll let you get to it. All right.
Thanks, guys. Be well.
Mike Chappell joining us, CBS 4 and WXAN Fox 59. He's right though about Philip Rivers. You know it when all of a sudden. Listen, folks. There's a reason why you start seeing guys like in their early to mid 40s into their 50s wearing slip-on shoes, right? I mean, I'm telling you, like just the little things first thing in the morning when you get out and you got to put your shoes on, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And I can only imagine for Philip Rivers. And yes, he clearly was wearing a lot of protective gear. I thought they had to water it down an awful lot in terms of what they wanted to do offensively. And I think at the beginning of the game, Seattle clearly was trying to feel out, find out, and sort through who he was and what he could do. And then once they had enough looks at it, they were able to tell, okay, this is in fact not a threat for certainly deep ball. And that just changed the way, you saw the way they were able to defend it. Now, from the Colts standpoint, I thought defensively they played very well, obviously. But at the end, they needed one play. And they could not get it. And the kickoff did not help to put Seattle in good position. But then you have invested an awful lot in that front four in terms of that elusive pass rush. I remember asking Chris Ballard a couple of years ago, what is the one thing that keeps you awake at night that you just can't get a feel for or a hold on? And he said depth, building depth, finding depth. And pass rush certainly feels like that is the elusive enigma that he is not able to totally grasp just in terms of depth and getting guys, if Kwity Paye's not able to give you something, to get a Tyquan Lewis going, or if Buckner's out, to have the depth there. Liatu Latu, he has his moments, but for where he was selected and for being the first defensive player selected, I think at this point you were expecting more consistency at that. College, and by the way, I'm going to read some of there were some good ones too. Reactions from yesterday. The social media, ex-post Twitter reactions to yesterday. And what people had to say about the Colts. Doing that just about 10 minutes from now. But back to college basketball. We talked plenty and enough about Indiana and Kentucky. I thought Purdue taking on Marquette. I was in Milwaukee, actually. It was only, Kurt, you want to guess the temperature in Milwaukee on Saturday? Saturday evening.
Can you give me an over-under?
I will tell you this. I've never believed it. When they say wind chill, and this is a rant I've been on forever. When they say the temperature outside is such and such, but the wind chill is such and such, meaning it feels like this. Well, then that's what it is. Mm-hmm. If that's what it feels like, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
You don't imagine the wind chill. The wind chill's and it was windy in Milwaukee. So we left Saturday, and from 865, meaning the road 865, until like the wind farms north of Lafayette, it was basic. It wasn't a whiteout, but it was not pretty. And then as soon as I got north of Lafayette, it looked like this outside. It was very clear out, but you could just tell it was cold. And as I went further and further, I've never had like frost on the inside of the window, but like on the driver's side window, but it was like, whoa. And then I'm like, okay, it's cold. We got up there. I checked the wind chill as we were walking around. Stayed at the Pabst Brew House, which is fabulous in downtown Milwaukee, and it's part of the old Pabst Brewery. And then the Best Place, which is one of my favorite bars ever. It's got a little fireplace, and it is in the original Pabst banquet hall. And there at the Best Place, they got the fireplace, they got PBR on draft, and Schlitz and Blatz on draft. So we were there, and we were going to go to a Christmas market, and Shannon's like, it is so cold outside. There's a restaurant also adjacent. This whole area is not like Bottle Works, but kind of more like down by Cambridge. You know what I mean? Like the city, like that little area. So it feels kind of like, and looks kind of like that, right off of the shadows of Fiserv Arena. So we walked outside, and she's like, it is so cold. Let's just go to the restaurant right here in the hotel. And I said, okay, good deal. So we sat down, and that's when I checked my phone. The wind chill temperature, I'm going wind chill. You want to guess the wind chill? And it was windy the entire time, so this was the reality.
I'm going to go 12 below.
Close. 16 below. 16 below. So that gave plenty of time to just basically sit and watch college basketball. But Purdue and Marquette, Shaka Smart, one thing you know about Marquette, and I think we saw this when Indiana played them, you anticipate that Marquette is going to defensively really give you something, but they have not this year. They gave up 100 to Indiana. They gave up over 95 to Wisconsin. And Purdue, I think that was a good, like, kind of get back on track game for Purdue. And the good news for Purdue is they were able to get back on that track, get back on that horse, if you will, again, because of what is a growing and budding piece of that puzzle that's going to really help them in March, and that's the play of Oscar Clough. And, what he's able to do to then allow Trey Kaufman-Renn to get down on the low block and the balance between those two underneath. And then Braden Smith, again, I'm going to go back to best player in college basketball. Butler got a big win. That was an unbelievable game for Butler. And we haven't talked enough Butler, and maybe I should get more into that, because what you're starting to see in Butler now is, I think Thad Matta in revamping and redoing that roster, the big thing for Butler has been challenging themselves or just finding out where they are within the league. Because, yeah, they have had over the course of the last couple of years, the Big East, it just seemed like, and I know that this is perhaps a naivete of mine, but in my mind, the stereotype for Butler is that the Big East is like bigger and faster than they type thing. And yet, Thad Matta, I think, has done an outstanding job of kind of redoing this roster, putting pieces out there that give them an offensive balance. But that game against Providence, in double overtime, and that's the kind of atmosphere that you need. In terms of Big East play, and I have no idea how good Providence is going to be this year, but to go in and get yourself a league win and do it at home, and I think that you can anticipate now that they are going to be, they're going to win some Big East games this year, and they are no longer the team. NIL standpoint, Butler probably is at a disadvantage, I would assume. I don't know that in terms of some of the other, UConn certainly, right? But I thought a really good win for them, and certainly an entertaining one. I saw the two overtimes is what I saw. I did not see the rest of that game. One of the teams that they beat, and I talked about this team because I went to their game last week and have not gotten into a lot, is IU Indy. And IU Indy to me is fascinating because when I watched them against Doug Gottlieb's Green Bay team, who is not a very good Horizon League team, and What I think Ben Hallett is wanting to do at IU Indy is come out with a system that he had utilized. He is the mold of, I'm not saying that he's going to have the success of, but the mold of Curt Cignetti of ton of success at a smaller school, smaller level, now trying to bring that with him to IU Indy. And he brought a number of players with him. And the system they run is essentially a press and then fast three-point shooting and try to basically wear down opponent system. And I think that he thought that he could bring that system immediately in and have some success in the Horizon League. And so far, they're not athletic enough even in that league. I don't think that the players he brought with him have the athleticism necessary for it. But I think what Ben Hallett's hope is that people see that system and say, that's something that I want to play in. And then he brings athletes with him, brings in athletes, say next year or for 2 years from now. And then you get a general idea of what it is that they want to be, which is almost like a hybrid of Arkansas, Loyola Marymount of the 90s. And that level of play, that excitement of play brings them players. But we'll see whether or not that comes to fruition. When we come back, your thoughts on the Colts yesterday, 239-1070. We'll open that back up, and I will read some of the best from the X-Post Twitter yesterday. 14 words or fewer on the Colts through 14 games. I'll read you some of the good ones next.
It's JMV for Indiana's Best. My friend Eric Wilson and Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st and State Road 37. It's in Fishers. Check it out right now. The GMC Acadia, good for you, the family, and the friends of the family. Inventory, car buying experience, service after the sale, the absolute best. It's one-stop shopping. Ask for Eric Wilson and head to Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st and State Road 37 in Fishers.
My husband's an animal in bed.
Well, you know.
Not in the fun way. Think warthog. With a chainsaw.
Snoring and sleep apnea affect over 90 million people, and 1 out of 4 couples sleep in separate rooms. Advent can help. We've been your one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care under one roof. Advent's unique approach can help you breathe and sleep better, and many avoid a CPAP. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
Hey, the only animal you want in your bed is your dog.
Advent. Sleep better. Sleep together. Learn how you can improve your life at adventknows.com.
This Christmas, get a bonus AI Essentials course when you enroll in any My Computer Career IT program by the end of the year. That's a $3,900 value. Attend classes online or on campus. Enjoy lifetime job placement support and IT certifications in high demand. Go to mycomputercareer.edu today and take the free career evaluation. That's mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner. Conditions apply to AI offer and financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill.
This is Chris with Absolute Comfort. We just want to thank you and your family for business that you've passed to us this year. Our families appreciate everything that you do for us, and we just want to let you know that if you have needs for your man cave or your she shed or whatever the thing is for a family member that you love, we just ask that you give us a call, and we've got some different ideas for you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Absolute Comfort is your Mitsubishi